Laborlar, yardımlar bizden oldu. Gelin buradan indi. Yanık kalanlardan buraya koyalım. Yanık kız, kesin şirket Türkiye'den ruxsat bering, qarz nima qilib qo'ying bitta. Yaxshi, demak hozir topshiradiganlar 5 kishi, shundaymi? Yana bir kishi tashqaridami? Ha, tashqarida. Bu chiyap qanchagacha? Shu yerda. Ha, shu yerda. Qolgani shu yerda demak, shundaymi? Yaxshi, unda boshlaymiz. Navbat bilan demak o'sha Boltay va Xulqar o'zini bo'yinlardan olamiz, Nurboy va Zarina shu yerdalar. Keyin ketma-ketlikda ketamiz, chunki bu kishi o'zi adabiyotgacha qilmaganligidan yo'qolmaydi uchun. Endi ruxsat olamiz. So, presenter is Boltay va Xulqar o'zini bo'yinlar. The topic of the dissertation is the theme of orphanage in Donatar's novel The Goldfinch and the Naughty Boy by Gafur. Scientific supervisor is Xorijiy. Reviewers are Xorijiy and Rajab. So, you have only 7 minutes. 7 minutes to present your dissertation, and after 7 minutes you will start discussions of your dissertation. So time will be given for answers and questions. You have only 7 minutes. Just speak about the main part of your dissertation. Don't read us the introduction part, the aims, actuality, novelty, so we can observe, we can see your dissertation, and we can define what's novelty, what's object, what's aim. We can define from the dissertation here, because your dissertation is here. Okay? So you have only 7 minutes for all of you. You have 7 minutes for presentation, and another 7 minutes will be done answering questions, and after this answering questions, we will have reviewing part, and that's all. In 15 minutes, we will finish with each of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, dear teachers and students. Our theme is the theme of orphanhood in the Donatar's The Goldfinch and the Naughty Boy by Gafur. Our research work aim is to compare representation orphanhood in Goldfinch and Shumbala. And the next aim is identity, the emotional and social meanings of orphanhood in those texts. And the next aim is analyze the cheerleader and Shumbala. Shumbala is a Koraboy. As a orphan child protagonist. And next aim is to examine cultural attitudes towards orphans in Western and Eastern contexts, and reveal common and distinctive narrative strategy. Next, our research work object is the Donatar's Goldfinch and Gafur's Shumbala Naughty Boy. And subject is our dissertation work, literary representation of orphanhood, identity, belonging, and resilience. And so I used this kind of methods. First method is comparative literary analysis. Methods, comparative literary analysis and semantic analysis, characteristic analysis. And contextual reading. First of all, I try to read this novel, and after that I began to compare two novels about the differences and the similarities. Next one, theoretical and practical value of this research work. Theoretical value is the study enriching semantic analysis of orphan in comparative literature. It shows how childhood trauma becomes a literary and cultural problem, and it depends understanding of identity, belonging, and resilience across the culture. It demonstrates the importance of national and world literature together, and the practical value is it may support literature teaching and curriculum discussion, and this provides useful materials for lecturers, students, for researchers. Next works. And, our dissertation work is consists of the introduction, chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3, and last one, the conclusion, and the bibliography. Orphan Wood as a universal literary theme. Orphan Wood is the main topic in this two novel, but there are many differences and similarities. First differences is the era and the placement, and similarities is orphans and protagonists faced more difficulties when they this novel. Main idea of the comparative study. I try to compare these novels as a Western and Eastern culture and time. Both works show the orphan in painful but also formative. Two trauma lead to loneliness, guilty, and the research for meaning through the art. One day, Theo wanted to go to the museum, and after that, this museum bombed by the terrorists, and after that, he lost his mother, and after this situation, he felt guilty for mother's death. And Shumbala's adventures reveal survival with innocence and social observation. But Korawai is more different from the Theo Decker because there are many comical events and comical situations with Korawai. But it is Theo Decker as an orphan figure. Theo experiences great guilt, secrecy, and emotional instability. He moves between temporary homes and fragile from the protection. Gafurgan's Shumbala context. Shumbala is a major Uzbek literary.
Time's up.
But you did not start even research the meaning as part of the research.
Okay, time for questions. Please, if you have any questions, you may ask.
I got one. Your topic claims to be comparative study, but I haven't seen any comparison in your work. Can you please demonstrate any comparative analysis, if you got some in the table maybe?
Difference between two words, the Goldfinch and Shumbala. Goldfinch shows more feelings and guilties, in deep emotions, but Shumbala presents cultural problems. And the findings of the characters, traits, protagonist differences. There are many differences, Theo and Korawai, sensitivity, security, and loneliness, guilty, and authentic attachment belong to the Theo. He's more security and loneliness boy, but Korawai differ from the Theo because he was a comic, wit, and more attractive boy.
Why are you calling him Qoraboy? Qoraboy is a different character in the work.
No. Şu
Qoraboy.
Qoraboy.
Shunday.
Ana u do'sti Qoraboy emas.
Bu aman.
Shahar Qoraboy.
Gafur bilan ne first Gafur bilan name shum period. Bad period or difficult period, but he couldn't publish this work. After that, he decided to name it Shumbalat. When we read this novel, we understand that Paraguay is not a Shum period and the culture and the other persons. Shum and naughty than Paraguay.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, please, if you have any questions, please. Do you have any questions? Questions?
Okay, I have a question. The first question is, how does orphanhood influence the protagonist's personalities? The second one is, how do American and the Uzbek cultural context shape this theme?
Goldfinch novel based on the more emotional and feelings belong to the theoretical. He couldn't attract other persons and communicate other persons. He spoke each other only own and his feelings. Open this goldfinch. And there are many psychological feelings and traumas show this novel. I think she has finished with the answer for your question.
I cannot tell that I am satisfied with all, but partly yours. Thank you.
I have got a question. So your chapter 1 is about theoretical foundation of the semen idea. First question is, what is semen, what is idea? The differences, because here the chapter 1 totally dedicated to the topic semen idea. My second question, so several times you mentioned about Western and Eastern narratives. Please clarify what is Eastern and what is Western narrative.
Western narratives more shows the individualism and the feelings, but Eastern narratives show the culture and communicate the person, each others, and the social problems. It's a difference from the Eastern and Western cultures and narratives.
Okay, what about the semen idea? I'm not satisfied with this answer, please. What is semen and what is idea? Çünkü aynen birinci chapter is theoretical foundation of semen and idea deb no'mar ekansiz. Shuni bizga tushuntirib bering. Unaqa badiiy asarning g'oyasi nima? Badiiy asarning mavzusi.
About the orphanhood and the homelessness and the more difficult situations about the protagonists.
Okay, I'm not asking about about the specific literary work. I'm not asking about Shumbola, I'm not asking about this, what is the second novel?
Goldfinch.
Goldfinch. I'm not asking about them. Generally, what is theme of the literary work and what is the idea of the literary work?
Matluba Akhorona wants you to answer theoretically.
Theoretically, idea in the
Can I ask the question? Okay. So your name? Okay. Okay, Hulka. The question is like this. So orphan, mostly just orphan people, orphan child, becomes a protagonist, yes? And sometimes it can be antagonist too. So how about psychological influence of orphanhood for the child character?
I think it's this kind of difficulties try to give the lessons and how to achieve difficulties. And this kind of difficulties,
So what kind of difficulties? Just
homelessness and the parent lost and without food and solve problems. This
by
orphans.
themselves?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Wasn't there anybody who supported them? Any stranger?
No.
Uverenliği yok demek. Uverenliği yok demek. Öyle yapıyor.
Were there any strangers to support, to help them? Because now,
As
when you
the-
say
as
no,
the-
so the world is negative for you, you know?
No,
So
no.
there are some people who can be positive ones, who can be supportive ones.
When I was a child, I read the Shumbala, but I understand only comedy. But now I read and try to understand peoples and others are not good for the orphans and protagonists.
Okay, I have a question as well. So I'd like to know about the author's period. So you have chosen Ghafur Ghulam and Donat. So do these authors live in the same period or create their works in the same period?
No.
Why have you chosen these two novels? What's common in them? Only orphanage?
Yes,
Only the motive of
orphanage.
orphanage common in these two novels?
Yes,
Oh,
as the
orphans, yes.
orphans is common, but the period and the feelings and more problems are different from each other. I did only orphan because Theo Decker showed the only feelings and the monologues belong to Theo Decker's, but Karavai, attractive and communicative child and
Okay. So common thing in two authors is orphanage, yes? So besides this orphanage, you have analyzed in your work the cultural attitudes towards the orphans. So what was the cultural attitude towards the orphans in Ghafur Ghulam's work? And what was the cultural attitude towards the orphan in Donatat? Can you show us an example?
Most people in this period used only these children as a worker without any
So
payment
cultural
and
attitude. Cultural attitude towards orphan people. So in which they look at the orphans as a worker. In which work? In donatarts or in Gafurlan?
Gafurlan's work.
Okay, what about donatarts then? So
Uh,
what cultural attitude towards the orphans did you notice? In donatarts, no.
uh, more feelings and emotions only belong to the theological.
Do you think that this topic is actual nowadays? What do you think?
Yes, of course, because
Why? Why is it actual?
we live the globalization period, and we know and we wrote world the other foreign countries, and more children suffer from the orphans nowadays. If we add Goldfinch our educational textbooks nowadays, it is a best lesson and best psychological information for our children, because most peoples don't know about this kind of difficulties.
You should have at least dedicate one section to comparison. No comparison in your presentation you got some, but here in the dissertation I couldn't find any. But anyway, it's not bad.
If you don't have any questions, more questions, no questions?
No.
If you don't have any questions, so I will ask Celia Lozani-Horobituna for giving her review. Yes, Horobituna, just read the comments, please.
Assalomu alaykum, hurmatli kengash a'zolari, hurmatli rais. Osiyo xalqaro universiteti ijtimoiy fanlar va texnika fakulteti xorijiy til va ijtimoiy fanlar kafedrasi 701-109-01 xorijiy til va adabiyoti ingliz tili mutaxassisligi magistranti Boltayeva Hunkar Ozimboyevnaning The Theme of Orphanage in Donna Tartt novel The Godfinch and the Naughty Boy by G'afur G'ulom mavzusidagi magistrlik dissertatsiyasiga taqriz. Ruxsatlaringiz bilan asosiy qismini o'qib eshittirsam. Magistrlik dissertatsiyasini o'rganish jarayonida quyidagi tavsiyalik xarakterdagi kamchiliklar kuzatildi. Menga yuborilgan vaqtda dissertatsiyada UDK'si yo'q edi, hozir ko'rib turibman UDK qo'yilgan. Keyingi kamchilik. Matn davomida orphanhood va orphanage atamalari ayrim o'rinlarda aralash qo'llanilgan. Orphanage ko'proq yetimxona yoki muassasa ma'nosini bildiradi. Orphanhood esa yetimlik holatini anglatadi. Shuning uchun dissertatsiya matnida terminologik izchillikni saqlash maqsadga muvofiq. Keyingisi kirish qismida normativ huquqiy hujjatlar berilgan bo'lsa-da, ayrim havolalar takrorlangan va sanalarda nomuvofiqlik seziladi. Masalan, bir xil mazmundagi qaror 2 marta keltirilgan. shuningdek hujjat sanasi va raqami qayta tekshirilishini talab qiladi. Ushbu qismni rasmiy manbalar asosida tartibga keltirish lozim. Keyingisi, bitiruvchilik qismida bir qancha xorijiy, MDH va o'zbek olimlari nomlari keltirilgan. Biroq ayrim o'rinlarda ularning qarashlari tadqiqot mavzusi bilan yanada bevosita bog'lab izohlanishi kerak. Manbalar faqat sanab o'tilmasdan ularning yetimlik, bolalik, travma yoki qiyosiy adabiyotshunoslikka aloqasi qisqacha tahlil qilinsa nazariy asos mustahkamlanardi. Ayrim boblarda umumiy nazariy fikrlar bir necha marta takrorlangan, xususan yetimlikning sharq va g'arb adabiyotidagi ahamiyati, shaxs shakllanishi, jamiyatning yetim bolaga munosabati va mehr-muhabbatga ehtiyoj kabi fikrlar turli bo'limlarda o'xshash shaklda qayta berilgan. Takrorli qismlar qisqartirilsa matnning tahliliy zichligi oshadi. Keyingisi, 2 va 3 boblarda obrazlar tahlili keng berilgan bo'lsa-da, ayrim joylarda bevosita asar matnidan olingan aniq epizodlar bilan dalillash yetarli emas. Demak, qahramonlarning ruhiy holati, ijtimoiy munosabati va xarakteri rivoji kontent badiiy lavhalar asosida ko'proq tahlil qilinsa, ishning ilmiy dalillanish darajasi kuchayadi. Dissertatsiya matnida ayrim grammatik uslubiy va xatoliklar uchraydi, xususan 10-12 betlarda kirish qismidagi ayrim jumlalar juda uzun tuzilgan va normativ huquqiy hujjatlar bayonida takrorlik seziladi. 17-35, ya'ni birinchi bobda orphanage atamatalarining aralash qo'llanilishi, shuningdek ayrim gaplarda akademik ingliz tili uslubiga xos bo'lmagan ifodalar uchraydi. 37-57 betlarda obrazlar tahliliga oid ayrim jumlalar grammatik moslashuv, artikl va birlik ko'plik shakllarida tahrir talab qiladigan o'rinlar mavjud. 55-76 betlarda esa ba'zi gaplar haddan tashqari uzun tuzilgan bo'lib, ularni qisqaroq va aniqroq ilmiy jumlalarga aylantirish maqsadga muvofiq bo'lar edi. Foydalanilgan adabiyotlar ro'yxatida bibliografik rasmiylashtirishda ayrim nomuvofiqliklar mavjud. Ba'zi internet manbalari umumiy sayt nomi bilan berilgan. Adabiyotlar ro'yxatining yagona bibliografik standart asosida qayta tartibga solish tavsiya etiladi. Xulosa qilib aytganda, yuqorida bildirilgan mulohazalar ishning ilmiy qiymatini inkor etmaydi. Aksincha, ular, ya'ni dissertatsiyaning terminalik ishchiligi, tahririy sifati, nazariy asoslanganligi va amaliy tahlil qismini yanada takomillashtirishga xizmat qiluvchi tavsiyalar sifatida qaraladi. Boltaeva Hulkar O'zimboyevaning 701-109-01 xorijiy til va adabiyot ingliz tili mutaxassisligi bo'yicha magistrlik dissertatsiyalariga qo'yiladigan talablarga javob beradi va himoyaga tavsiya etiladi. Demak, tahrirchi Zarnigor Otabekova, Osiyo xalqaro universiteti professori. E'tiborlaringiz uchun rahmat.
So, second video is radio olarak kimina?
Asosiy mashg'ulotlardan boshlayman. Okay. 70-119 xorijiy til va adabiyot, ingliz tili va adabiyot mutaxassisligi bo'yicha magistr akademik darajasini olish uchun yozilgan dissertatsiyasiga taqriz. Xo'sh, taqrizchilar ishining yutuqlari bilan birga ayrim o'rinlarda kamchiliklarni kuzatganlar, jumladan nazariy manbalar doirasini kengaytirish muhim, ayrim tahliliy xulosalarni qo'shimcha ilmiy dalillar bilan mustahkamlash maqsadga muvofiq bo'lar edi. Manbalar bilan ishlashda ayrim takroriy fikrlar uchraydi, bu esa matnning ixchamligiga ta'sir qilgan. Keyingi kamchilik, foydalanilgan adabiyotlar ro'yxatini shakllantirishda bir necha kamchiliklar mavjud. Tadqiqot ishida ayrim imloviy va texnik xatolar ham uchraydi. Bularni bartaraf etish ishning umumiy ta'sirotini yanada yaxshilaydi. Ushbu kamchiliklar ishning umumiy mazmuni va ilmiy ahamiyatiga jiddiy ta'sir ko'rsatmaydi hamda ularni bartaraf etish mumkin. Boltaeva Hulkar O'zimboyeva tomonidan tayyorlangan mazkur dissertatsiya ilmiy nazariy jihatdan asoslangan, mantiqan izchil va yakunlangan deb baholash mumkin. Yuqoridagilarni inobatga olgan holda ushbu dissertatsiyani himoyada tavsiya etish mumkin deb hisoblayman. Buxoro davlat universiteti xorijiy tillar fakulteti ingliz adabiyotshunisligi va tarbiyatsizlik kafedrasi katta o'qituvchisi PhD Rajab Rahimova. Rahmat.
Boşladık, Hulkar O'zimboyevani eshitdi. Unda keyingi navbatni Nurgul va Zarina o'qitqizidiganamiz. So, the topic of dissertation is representation of similar images in English and Urdu languages. Is it your topic? What about explanation of similar images in Shakespeare's tragedies and Ulugh-Beg's works in English and Turkish literature.
It is given as one. It is given as one topic. My topic is this.
So long topic is given to you?
Yes.
Maybe it should be given in the break. Okay. So scientific supervisor is Nuri Belginova and reviewers are Gafar Razmudazakujun and Nasulat Olimana. So Zarina Wahiduna, you have only 7 minutes for presenting the significant points of your dissertation, please.
Good afternoon, dear professors. My name is Sarah Moiva. Today I will present my master's dissertation on the theme representation of similar images in English and Urdu languages, exploration of similar images in William Shakespeare tragedies and Ulugh works, and my scientific supervisor is Adabiyoti. In this work, I compared the tragedies of William Shakespeare with the works and life of Ulugh and the Greek scholar and ruler, and I also compare Ulugh with the drama of Ulugh by the Urdu writer Mansur Shahzada.
Sizga close reading qo'shdingizmi?
Yes, Shakespeare. My topic object is interpretation of similar characters in William Shakespeare works, Hamlet, Othello, and Ulugh. The subject of the study is the comparative analysis of similar literary images, symbols, and human limitation represented in Shakespeare tragedy and Ulugh works. My first chapter is about social political environment in both authors' era. So my second chapter is about characters, similar characters in both authors. So in chapter 1, in both English and Uzbek literature, slander, bad lies, it's like a silent poison. It reads fake truths, makes people doubt their loved ones and change private peace into public tragedy. In chapter 2, I compare characters across both traditions. I compare 3 women, Desdemona from Othello, Ophelia from Hamlet, and Firuza from Shahzada's Mirza Ulugh. All 3 women become victims of slander. They are not punished because of what they did, but they are punished because of what other people said about them. Desdemona and Othello. So, Desdemona, she is destroyed because of a fake story about a handkerchief. Her pure heart cannot save her from her husband's blind jealousy caused by Iago's terrible lies. The second one is Ophelia. She is from Hamlet. She is caught in the middle of Pele's spy games. The pressure from her father, the king, the Hamlet's strange behavior finally breaks her mind, leading to her sad death. And Firuza. Firuza character is from Shahzada's Ulugh tragedy. In the literature about Ulugh's time, Firuza represented pure love, loyalty, and female beauty. Bad people in the place target her name to hurt Ulugh emotionally and ruin his reputation among people. Her character shows that in both Western and Eastern literature, innocent women are often used as tools by villains to destroy great kings. Architects of film, Iago and Adabiyoti. Iago, he is from Othello, a master manipulator. He represents total evil in this tragedy. He studies human weakness and controls Othello's mind by whispering fake secrets, feeling no regrets for his actions. Adabiyoti, he is from Shahzada's Ulugh tragedy, an ambitious son. He goes down in history as a father killer, Karakush, blinded by the desire to take the throne. He starts war against his father. Palace woman, Gertrude, and Gavhashal began. Gertrude, she is a big queen who marries her husband's brother right after the king's death. To protect her position, he does not plan the crime, but he accepts them silently. And Gavhashal began. It is also Mirza Ulugh tragedy, which is written by Mahs Shahzoda. A very powerful woman with strong political goals. He tries to control who gets the throne, which brings hidden internal fight inside the Timurid royal family. This is a comparison between among the King Hamlet, King Lear, and Mirza Ulugh Bey. King Hamlet was poisoned secretly by his own brother. By King Lear, he believed fake words and gave his power away. But Mirza Ulugh Bey, he loved science too much and was betrayed by his own son. The deep meaning of Ulugh Bey's tragedy: pure science cannot protect a person from political cruelty. Mirza Ulugh Bey's tragedy is ultimately fight between light and darkness. He knew all the secrets of the stars, but he didn't prepare for the secrets of human jealousy on first. Just like Shakespeare's good heroes like Hamlet or Cordelia, Ulugh Bey believed in truth, which made him an easy target for bad people who used lies and violence. Main conclusion of this research: universal bridge. So what's universal bridge? Literary images connect different cultures by showing identity of humanitarian. By comparing these tragedies, I know that in spite of their different living environments, they sometimes show the similar cultures and humanitarian. Cultural difference. Star symbols means blind faith in Shakespeare, but real science in Ulugh Bey. Weapons of light. Slander is a global tool used to destroy good leaders and innocent women. So, in second chapter, I compare across both traditions, and I compare 4 characters who use.
So now it's time for questions and answers. Please, dear professors, any question?
Yes. What are some questions? Like, there was a word, like, the sentence, like, the deep meaning of Ulugh Bey's work. Can you go back, please?
Deep meaning?
Yes. So that was interesting for me. And also, I have some ideas about your plans. So chapter 2. And the architects of Rome. What do you mean by this? There were two like phrases in your presentation. Architects of Rome and the deep meaning of Ulugh Bey's work, if I'm not mistaken. That was very interesting. Why did they choose these words? And about chapter 2, similarities between 2 authors' works. But you are giving like 2.1 section, like that Desdemona, Ophelia, and Firuza are the victims of slander. Do they show, and the next one, Abdulatif, Gertrude, Gavhashal, Begum, and Iago, are selfish, conspiring villains. Do they show similarities between 2 authors' works? And that's not the right version of, let's say, the sections chose. So maybe you can prove your ideas. Why did you choose this one?
Iago and Abdulatif somehow show similar characters. For example, Iago tries to control other people's ideas and opinions about something is he desired. And as for Abdulatif controlled by other people. Using fake religious excuses fake excuses to kill his father. Firuza and Desdemona also have some similar fate. For example, Desdemona was killed by Iago's favors, and Firuza also.
Zarina, are you reading the answer? Are you reading it? No? I thought you were looking at it. Close the monitor, please. Close your computer.
As I have stated, Desdemona was killed by Iago's favors by her husband Othello, and Firuza is also considered the victim because they lied herself to their favors in order to achieve their goals, to control the kingdom after the king's death.
I don't think this is a similarity because here you are mentioning about expression of similar images. Just you should create the image of these characters, okay? Not about their fates. I mean about their images, like how they are like similar.
It should be different, not similar. Because from the point of view of cultural, historical, religious aspects, these two authors are from different contexts, yeah. So they create the verse from different contexts, yeah. So they should be mostly not similar but different images. You had to do this one. Okay, the question which I have here is connected with the translation studies. So in your dissertation, you mentioned that the outcomes of this research are applicable in academic settings, particularly in the teaching of literature, translation, and cultural studies. So, what part of your dissertation can be used in the translation studies, in the classes of translation, in the classes of theory and practice of translation? So, what can you suggest?
Translation, for example, if you consider Abdulatif, it is considered Parakush. In our culture, it's called Parakush, but in Shakespearean particular, we translate, you cannot translate, for example, this Parakush word as like
What's the connection of translation studies with your topic? So just prove your statement that this one can be used in the translation studies, but the topic is not connected with the translation studies. Your topic is representation of similar images in English and different languages. It should be comparative studies. Yeah? It should include comparative studies. And how it can be related to translation studies. nothing about translation here in your PPT, in your dissertation, I haven't seen. But you mentioned that it can be applied in teaching literature, translation, and cultural studies. So, okay, if you mention cultural studies, somehow I agree with you, because these are two different spheres, two different contents, and the authors belong to different nations. But what about translation studies? Why do you include this translation here?
Maybe she studied translation as well.
Do you have any samples of translation here?
No.
She doesn't have, that's great. Okay. No answers? Okay, thank you. Other questions, if you have, you may ask.
I have some suggestions, like, it's very long topic, so they are the same things. Please just take bracket, use a bracket for expression of similar images in them, just till the languages. Then there will be like connection of these two topics. Otherwise this is a repetition of something else. If you can change, please change this one. And one more thing, if chapter 2, like, let's see chapter 2, your sections are not correct. Please just change the topics of discussion even, like in chapter 2, because that is not the way to cover this topic, I think. It's not correct. And one more thing, 3rd chapter, you have 4-page conclusion. How can you make 4-page conclusion for 8-page chapter? That's not correct, Just you use a ChatGPT, it's okay, but you cannot use so long conclusion for 8-page chapter, just a 4-page conclusion. That's not a good idea. Maybe just you can read some of them, like maybe 2 pages or maybe 3 pages. 1 page is enough, I think.
Thank you for your suggestion. Any other questions? No questions. So, if you are not right, let's announce the reviews of the dissertation. Oslo Xalqaro Universiteti 701, 1901 Xorijiy til va adabiyoti, ingliz tili va adabiyoti mutaxassisligi, 2-bosqich magistranti Nurg'o'y va Zarina Vohid qizi tomonidan magistr akademik darajasini olish uchun yozilgan magistrlik tadqiqot ishiga taqriz. Demak, ancha yutuqlari ko'rsatib o'tilgan taqrizda, lekin shular bilan bir qatorda ayrim kamchiliklar ham kuzatiladi. Ijozat bersalaringiz kamchiliklarni o'qib bersam va xulosani davom ettirsam. Ushbu kamchiliklar garchi tadqiqotning umumiy saviyasiga putur yetkazmasa-da, tuzatishni va e'tibordan chetda qoldirmaslikni talab qiladi. Kamchiliklar quyidagilardan iborat. Vuzliklardagi rasmiylashtirishlarda kamchiliklar mavjud. Ishni yakunlash jarayonida bu kamchiliklar kuzatildi. Ishning ayrim sahifalarida texnik hamda imloviy kamchiliklar ko'zga tashlanadi. Xo'p, Osiyo Xalqaro Universiteti 701-1901 xorijiy til va adabiyoti, ingliz tili va adabiyoti mutaxassisligi 2-bosqich magistranti Nurulloy va Zarina Vohid qizining o'z mutaxassisligi bo'yicha yozilgan magistr akademik darajasini olish uchun kechirasizlar. Yozilgan dissertatsiyasi mustaqil ravishda olib borilgan, yakunlangan ilmiy ish bo'lib, magistr akademik darajasini olish uchun qo'yilgan dissertatsiya talablarining barchasiga to'liq mos keladi. Muallif esa magistr akademik darajasini olish uchun loyiq hisoblanadi. Dissertatsiyani ijobiy baholayman va uni himoyaga tavsiya etaman. Osiyo Xalqaro Universiteti dotsenti Nazirxo'janova Dafarova. Tashqi tadris. Osiyo Xalqaro Universiteti xorijiy til va ijtimoiy fanlar kafedrasi 701-1901 xorijiy til va adabiyoti, ingliz tili va adabiyoti yo'nalishi 2-bosqich magistranti Nurulloy va Zarina Vohid qizining magistrlik dissertatsiyasiga taqriz. Demak, ushbu taqrizda ham ishning ancha yutuqli jihatlari ko'rsatib o'tilgan ekan. Xulosa qismi dissertatsiyaning barcha boblarida erishilgan asosiy natijalarni muvaffaqiyatli umumlashtiradi. Muallif Shekspir va Ulug'bek asarlarida universal insoniy tajriba va madaniy o'ziga xoslikning uyg'unlashgan tarzda namoyon bo'lishini asoslab bera olgan. Tarjima fani va madaniyatlar aro muloqot uchun amaliy xulosa ham o'rinli ko'rsatilgan deb yozibdilar tahlilchimiz. Dissertatsiyaning yutuqli jihatlari, demak, 1-, 2-, 3-chi yutuqlar aytib o'tilgan. Yutuqlar bilan bir qatorda dissertatsiyada ayrim kamchiliklar ham mavjud. Birinchisi, matnda ayrim grammatik va uslubiy xatolar uchraydi. Ikkinchisi, ba'zi tahlillarda fikrlarning takrorlanishi kuzatiladi. Uchinchisi, ayrim obrazlarning farqli jihatlari yanada kengroq tahlil qilinsa, tadqiqotning ilmiy qiymati oshgan bo'lar edi. Xo'p, xulosa qilib aytganda, dissertatsiya o'zining ilmiy yangiligi, nazariy puxtaligi va amaliy ahamiyati bilan magistrlik ishiga qo'yiladigan talablarga javob beradi. Yuqorida qayd etilgan kamchiliklar asarning umumiy ilmiy qiymatini susaytirmaydi va ular tadqiqotchining yetuklik darajasiga putur yetkazmaydi. Shu munosabat bilan dissertatsiya himoyaga tavsiya etiladi va muallif magistrlik akademik darajasiga loyiq deb topiladi. Buxoro davlat universiteti ingliz adabiyotshunosligi va tarjimashunoslik kafedrasi dotsenti Narzobayeva. Rahmat e'tiborlaringiz uchun.
All professors, thank you for your suggestions and questions. In the future, I will absolutely pay attention to suggestions. Thank you.
Demak, keyingi magistrimizga so'zni beramiz. Yusuf Sardobek Nurlich. Dissertatsiya mavzulari Translation Problems of Real Lives Representing National and Local Identity. Ilmiy rahbarlari filologiya fanlari doktori CS professor Gadoyev Mavlevdagina. Taqrizchilar Buxoro davlat universiteti ingliz tilshunosligi kafedrasi professori Qosimova Nafisa Farxarovna, filologiya fanlari doktori CS hamda Osiyo Xalqaro Universiteti fundamental tibbiyot kafedrasi professori Jalilova Zarin Bo'rovina, filologiya fanlari bo'yicha falsafa doktori PhD. Sardobek, you have got only 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'd like to present my presentation. It's about translation problems of realities presenting the national and local identity. So my scientific supervisor is Professor Magistrlik. Okay. So now, so I'm going to start with the actuality of the research work. So nowadays, learning and teaching foreign languages is becoming crucial. It's become a very important process. So, however, it's necessary to admit that the circumstances that foreign language should be taught in a comparative way without causing damage to another language. And only this way our children can study at the higher standards, like vocational colleges and at less academic lessons, and they will be able to open for themselves the beautiful and wonderful world of world languages. So, and the aim of this research is to investigate how translation problems of realities representing national and local identity, expressing seniority and youth by different language units in both languages, and to describe the universal and specific features of these concepts. So at the same time, studying linguistic problems of teaching the concept and giving suggestions to solve the problem. And the object of the research is realities representing their national and local identity in English and Uzbek. And the subject of this research work is to study translation problems of realities representing national and local identity by various language units like words and phrases. So let's start with the other, the main issues and hypotheses of this research work. This addresses the key theoretical and practical issues related to translation of realities representing national and local identity between non-cognate languages, particularly English and Uzbek. One of the main issues lies in semantic and cultural non-equivalent equivalence of realities, which often leads to partial loss, distortion, or misinterpretation of national and local meanings in the target language. So this research also examines the inconsistency in the application of translation methods for realities in existing translations and academic studies, as well as the insufficient consideration of the cultural, cognitive, and pragmatic dimensions.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you. Can you just start with the practical approach in all the realities which you found out with the translations, please? Just more practical part.
Just a second.
Because you have only 3 minutes left.
The last chapter.
Chapter 3.
Okay.
3.2.
This is chapter 3. This is very short. And chapter 3 tells us that successful translation of reality requires preserving their national and local identity through careful classification, accurate cultural interpretation, and appropriate use of transliteration, explanation, and contextual adaptation to maintain the original artistic and cultural effect.
Examples.
There's only, I didn't have any examples. So.
Don't you have any examples?
Example.
Don't you have any examples?
I got the examples.
Analysis.
Okay,
Analysis.
Sardar Bey, so what the object of your dissertation, and please give us analysis of translation problems from the object which you have chosen.
It's about representing their local language.
Okay, what object did you choose to analyze translation of the realia?
Novel, book. Which books did you analyze?
Which books did you analyze
There
to
is
find realia?
there is a book called Worldly Affairs. It's written by Xorijiy, Worldly Affairs.
Okay.
Dünya İşleri,
Good.
Worldly Affairs. And he just
Okay,
presented.
did you find any realia in the Uzbek version of the book and in the translation, and did you compare them? So your topic is translation, problems of realia, yeah? Okay, what problems did you come across while analyzing source text and target texts?
And there are some words. I mean, reality itself is words and phrases and real objects in everyday life.
Okay,
Examples.
we know what's realia,
Oh,
but your topic is comparison of realia. So what's the translation problems of realia? Okay, what translation problem did you notice while analyzing source and target texts? What's problem? For example, if I say Choynak, so what's problem to translate this Choynak into English language? What's problem here?
the problem is we can't just translate it directly into English language.
Why not?
So it's,
Why not to use a pot? Why not to use a teapot? Is it a problem?
yeah, it's a problem.
Is it a problem?
Because it's in Uzbek.
Okay, çaynik, yoki choynak, a teapot.
Direct translation.
Direct translation. Do we have any problems in this? Can we notice any problems here? Okay, what problems did you notice? And what will you advise to the future translators in order to avoid this kind of mistakes?
If you noticed.
Didn't notice anything, but I would suggest that they should be careful while translating.
Okay, what's
If
the
you
novelty
balance-
of your work then? If you didn't notice any problems, what's the novelty of your topic then?
Translation problems. How was it?
Yeah, I'm just really confused with your question. But
I'm not giving confusing questions, I'm just giving clarifying questions in order to clarify your answers. So you say that you have noticed some problems, translation problems. Okay, I'm asking you, what problems did you come across while analyzing source text? So you have chosen world affairs and Dünyanın İşleri. In Dünyanın İşleri, we can see lots of realia in how the translator translated the realia which is given in realia which are given in the source text. How he translated and what problems did he manage to solve. I'm just giving you questions in order to clarify your answers. Please, I'm listening.
Okay, do you know any translation types?
translation types.
For example, kalka.
Kalka.
Yes.
In what language?
Half kalk, kalk. It can be used in any language, you know. For example, from English into Uzbek or from Uzbek into English, so you can use this type of translation. Direct translation, for example. Do you know any types of translation?
If you give me an example so I can remember.
Yeah, for example, direct translation. So you will directly translate, like, imagine the word manaviyat. Manaviyat is translated into English like spirituality. Why? Because it is directly translated. So they don't care about the root meaning, like the stem meaning of the word, but they translate like this. And what about kalk and half kalk? Like New York, yes? We don't